Good morning, everyone. Basically, we are here to discuss about the UI testing using Robot and Selenium2Library. So currently in the Lithium version, we don't have any test that could show that whether the Deluxe is up and we have the Wang UI modules up or not. So this is just to create tests using Robot and Selenium2Library. First to check whether the topology is up or not, or whether the Wang UI modules are up or not. And so the agenda here is first I would be giving you an introduction, what was the scope of the project, what has been reached, and how I started. Then we would be discussing with the features that the community wants to be tested and would like to see in the Beryllium version, right? So after a few minutes, I just give you the introduction. Carol is going to lead. And so the introduction of this project. So basically the scope of the project was first to test the netcoff actions that are being processed via Wang UI. But later on, we thought that the community wants to test the Deluxe API service as a whole. So first, the goal of this project now is to create test suites that can test the user interface and the Wang UI interface that are being exposed via Deluxe service. So this test will ensure whether the Deluxe is up or not. So we have the test running in the Jenkins so that we can, whether the Deluxe goes down or the URL is not opening so that it can. And we will process some modules so that we can identify, the developer can identify whether the Deluxe service is up or not. Right. So this project is being mentored by Carol, and Louis is also there in the discussions and everything. So basically, sorry, I forgot to mention my introduction. I'm working as an OpenDaylight intern with the Linux Foundation, and my name is Nitin Agarwal. So how I actually got started. So first of all, I learned about what is SDN and what is software-defined networking, what are the technologies. Then I learned about OpenDaylight. So the architecture of OpenDaylight, what is the controller, what is northbound, southbound, the OpenFlow protocol, OpenVSwitch. And then I tried to get the VMs from the community, and then I tried to install OpenDaylight controller and play around with it. So after that, we had there some wiki pages which are a good reference point for the new beginners to come and see how to install the features, troubleshoot the issues. And there is a IRC channel where we can actually ping any of the developer to ask the issues, right? So I got 3 VMs from the Sparent Labs, where in first VM, I installed the OpenDaylight controller. The configuration of the VM is something around 4 cores and 8 GB RAM. 2 of the VMs are running CentOS, and 1 VM is 1.14. So on the CentOS VM, I am running controller. And the other CentOS VM, I have robot framework and my development setup to push, pull, and commit code. And on the Ubuntu VM, I have Mininet installed. So after that, learning about all these things and setting up the environment directly, I tested the present test case to become more familiar with the robot framework and how the testing procedure goes. Then we have got the Selenium2Library. So I learned about this Selenium2Library and the various keywords that are being used. So after that, I got started creating with the test suites for testing the UI features. And we have got one basic test suite just to test whether the Deluxe shows on a specified URL and the user is able to log in properly with admin. So what is actually Selenium2Library? It is a web testing framework for robot, right? And it uses Selenium 2 WebDriver for internally to control a web browser. So it actually runs in a real browser instance, and it can be used with both Python and Jython. So this link is actually a good reference point for the Selenium 2 library, and it has it is a good resource, and all the parameters and keywords are mentioned, how to use it, how to import, everything. So first of all, Selenium 2 library, we installed it publicly in the Jenkins. So this is the way we have installed, and in the Jenkins build Relang. So this is the user interface that I'm going to discuss. Say UI opens at localhost 8181 port and index.html. Please note that it has changed in Lithium version. Before in Helium, it was /deluxe/index.html. So this slide is been pulled from the ODL operations guide, which Louis gave on Monday. And that was actually a good reference point for the new beginners, and it has all the things that I did. So installing Mininet, robot code, and ODL controller, troubleshooting the issues, Postman, RESTconf, and REST URLs. So this is that we want to test. So this is the UI actually, right? So after login, we would like to discuss with the community, say which features you would like to test first, right? So topology part, nodes part, Wang UI, and in Lithium version, we also got the YangVisualizer part. So the basic test suite we have now is just, it shows that the Deluxe service is up or not, and whether the user is able to log in properly or not. So after that, now we are proceeding further to seek the community, what features you would like to have first, and is there any priority among the features that you would like to test first? So I think now it's time for the discussion, and Carol is going to lead the discussion and discuss with you regarding the features. So I request Carol to please come and lead the discussion.
Thank you. Testing, OK. So thank you, Nitin, for your introduction into the testing that we're starting to do with Deluxe. Show of hands, how many have loaded Deluxe, played with it? Do you use it in testing at all? Good. What would you say is the first place you go with the most popular application you use when you open Deluxe? OK. Topology, I heard Yang UI. No one's used the YangVisualizer yet, though, right? That's still kind of... You have? OK. That's what we need to know, actually. So what would you like to see tested? I recommend it to Nitin that we maybe think about what I call low-hanging fruit. So that's the user opens up Deluxe, what are they basically going to do? What do they want to see? They want to see their nodes. They want to see the connections between the two. They want to be able to push configurations, right?
Oh, yeah. So one thing, obviously, well, one big thing I look at is the topology manager, seeing all my nodes and everything. Is there a way to test that the web UI actually goes in and calls? I'm assuming it makes a REST call to operational nodes and actually gets the nodes to verify that the number of nodes is actually what is in my controller. Because, I mean, I've done a little bit of testing with Robot and Selenium too, and it's kind of hard to test like the topology manager. But I think one good way to test it is to verify that when we click topology manager, then it actually underlying it calls a REST call or however it does to get those nodes, and it's the same as if we were to make a REST call without the UI or not through the UI to verify those numbers match of the number of nodes?
So that sounds like testing the rest, actually, and that would be separate from seeing if it actually shows up in the UI.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I mean, like what he said right now, all you guys do is test, make sure you can log in, and then are you guys testing that the title's there or the page is loaded? That's all, right? So how do we test that my nodes? Let's say I have 5 nodes. That I actually do have 5 nodes, and it's the same as what I see on the UI.
Yeah, so I think to validate that, what we could do is we could use Selenium to test that the nodes appear, and you can do that with IDs or an XPath statement, define them, and then to validate what's there is to go and then do a REST call, inventory,
And then
if you
match the
will,
numbers.
and
Yeah.
match the
Yeah, and that's not done today, though, right?
No, that's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just think that would be kind of useful too to validate the UI.
Okay. Validate,
Topology manager, at least.
For topology manager.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a 1 for topology manager. More exploration there. What about the Yang UI?
I'm developing the YangUI.
You're developing, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to know how to test it because we are generating the UI itself, so we are developing the application. And what can we test there? If the form is generated properly, against what? Against the YangUI model, and we need to parse it. Or we can get the data from the Yang utils, which is a library to generate the data for YangUI. But it's testing only the UI against the Yang utils library, which is in the YangUI. So I don't know what we will test there in the YangUI itself. So just tell me and we will try, of course.
Yeah.
And I think one question, the Selenium library is getting the elements from the page by ID, right? We don't use IDs in YangUI, so we must add them, which is not a problem. Okay, we can do, but we need to ensure that the elements have a unique ID. So we need to generate the IDs like the module name, revision number, name of the element itself, and this stuff. So to ensure the ID is unique, but we will do that. It's not a problem. But somebody tell me how to test the YangUI itself against what? It will be the main question.
I wrote a preliminary test suite for the Yang UI, and what I used was XPath because there were no IDs. Yeah. And the other aspect of the Yang UI is that the elements don't show up until you actually click on them, so they're not populated. So you have to write logic to actually wait until it shows up and then try to identify it through XPath.
We have the Angular statement ng show there. So the elements are generated, but are hide. So they are in the page, are hidden by the ng hide statement, but they are in the HTML. But we had a problem with the great Yang models if they are too large. So the whole application just consumed a lot of memory, and the browser just hang up and.
Right.
It's still, so we must to change it from the ng show to ng if, and ng if just don't generate the elements itself. They just place the placeholder.
Okay.
And when you click on the appropriate node and generate the subtree of the form, it just renders and put all the code in it. I would like to have this functionality because if we have a really big Yang models, we can't generate the whole form. It will be too big and will consume a lot of memory of the browser. So maybe we try to test the placeholders. Maybe, I don't know, and this stuff.
So it sounds like you know a lot about how it's going to change. You say you're developing.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe it might be worth it to get together and kind of.
Of course.
Coordinate. Maybe come up with a test plan, because there may be an opportunity for some unit testing there as well.
Yeah. So for me,
Yes.
the voting is maybe start with the other application than YangUI. Test it there with something simple. Test it there, and then if we know how to run it properly, we will try YangUI. I would like to have YangUI tested, and I like to learn the robot testing in Selenium, because I need it in other UIs we are developing. So I want it.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
I'd just like to know the motivation behind developing YangUI. What problem is it trying to solve? I'm not being mean or anything. I just really want to know.
I'll let the developer answer that question, perhaps. But from my experience with YangUI, it's a front end for making REST and netconf to your southbound devices. I mean, it also, yeah.
Are we talking about the same thing?
So YangUI versus YangVisualizer. There's two different applications.
Okay. YangUI I get. Does anyone know anything about YangVisualizer?
YangVisualizer is different.
Yeah, does anyone know what the motivation and problem it's trying to solve?
I don't know.
I'm developing it too.
Okay.
We are developing the YangVisualizer too, and it's. Thank you. YangVisualizer is just for displaying the Yang models itself in a Sigma topology JavaScript library. So if you want to know the Yang models or the appropriate Yang model, just start the YangVisualizer and click through the model. It's displayed like a topology. So you have nodes there, and you see the connections between the nodes. You know what the you don't see this, but you know what is the parent of the node and what the child of the node. You see here types of the elements. So it's just displaying in a topology like. Yeah, you just see it as a graph, and you can understand it very quickly. So it's just for that.
So is it
no data, just models. You will not see what is stored in the config, just the representation of the Yang model itself as a graph or as a topology. So it's only that.
This is a graphical representation of the nodes you have connected or mounted to the controller, or is
the Yang models.
The Yang models, okay.
So you will see what is choice, what is leaf, what is RPC, and what is connected to what is parent to other node, what is subtree, and all this stuff.
Interesting. Okay. Got up front.
For the visualization for the Selenium, what I have done is that first thing I did fill up the form. That how I wanted to create my node and what are those nodes are done by the Selenium, because it's easier to do that one. Once I have done that part, because you can create, you can type on it and you can record everything you want and sequence wise, and you have to know the flow first of all, that what your intention is. And you run the 3-4 time of that one. After that, you can export that one as an Python script. In the Python script, you have to have the wave2 to be in there so that when you run the manually, on that one, it will automatically launch that one. You log in, and you will be done that one, and then you go to the Yang module, and then from Yang module, then you go on through that process. But that is the fixed configuration for the testing part is that one. The difficult part of that one, which when we try to populate and that bring up another one based on that population, the another field in the form, sometimes it get messed up. So that part need to be, quite a bit clear, one thing. And the second thing on the profile part, it is really hard to do that one. The reason is that it is always moving. Number one case. Number two case, if I restart it, its ID will be different. So there is a way to make it the fixed configuration for the testing purpose. There's a fixed configuration ID on the node so that we can go and test that one.
You're proposing that you know of a way to do that, or you're asking?
Yeah, I already know that
Okay.
one, but the question is the topology portion is really hard to do with the Selenium. So because of the ID number changes every time I restart it, or let's say I remove it, right? I remove it on the on the dev stack, I remove some part because I'm running another one which is creating and populating to the ODL. Okay, directly. But whenever I remove it and recreate it, it creates a different ID number on that one. That goes into the ODL. And
Right.
ODL sees that one as a separate number. But on the Selenium part of that one, it's really hard to do that one. So there's any way we can hack on it that will give us the fixed configuration rather than,
Yes, there is a way we can hack on it. And the question is scheduling a time and getting together and hacking on it. So I proposed that on Wednesday mornings, there was a robot happy hour that we continue that and we use that time to get together and hack on some of these issues in testing with Robot and Selenium. So if you're open to bringing to the forum, what you've done, what you've seen, and kind of educating us, then we can maybe have a hacking session. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Hi. If I understand correctly, you use the ID from the form to do your tests. But well, I'm a committer from Deluxe, so I know really how the architecture, how it works. But we might be use the canvas, some WebGL things, and those things are just rendered. They haven't IDs or anything like that. So I wonder how you could test it. I don't know if you understand my question.
Could you repeat it?
Yeah. If you use, for the topology, for right now, it's use a SVG canvas, so you can find ID to test it and be able to see how node are or links. But if we use a canvas or a WebGL, it will not be able to find ID because it's just a render. So how could you test it if you use that kind of thing?
So that's where XPath really helps. And XPath can be a little tricky, but that's kind of where XPath really gives you the power to find elements on the page. So I would recommend investigating XPath. And that's something else too that we can bring and hack on together in a happy hour.
Hey, I think whatever he asked, one of the things that I did some testing on the UI part of it, but in a different UI, basically, not Deluxe.
Okay.
So XPath is a little bit tricky because when you change the layout of the page, then your XPath might be corrupted. So I think the best way would be to have IDs. And with IDs, basically we can, no matter whether the I mean layout changes ID, if you make sure the ID remains same, then probably filling up that part, clicking that should be fine. And the second thing is, since we are talking about UI, rather than doing a RESTconf kind of thing, you should basically, let's say you change some colors on the UI. So there is a way to check whether that particular color or thing is highlighted, or let's say I mean, one of the things that we did is having links, counting links. So I think there is a way, I mean, I'm not sure, but there is a way to figure out how many links and how many icons are there on the UI. Because there is a chance that your RESTconf might work, but your UI doesn't show that. So such kind of cases can be, I mean, if you are talking about UI testing, basically you should be pure UI testing, not relying on something else other than UI. That's what my viewpoint is. And yeah, I mean, these are my thoughts. Basically, I don't know if there are these are questions or not.
So when you say pure UI testing, could you elaborate a little bit on that versus you're talking about acceptance testing the UI, or which is different from maybe like validating the content that you have?
Yeah, I mean, basically the UI will make a call, either RESTconf or netconf, whatever is underlying call. So testing that is one aspect of it, and testing whether it shows that particular thing, whichever is rendered by the web server, is another aspect of it. So if you're talking about UI testing, probably it should be pure UI testing. That's what my point is, rather than depending on RESTconf or netconf or whatever it is, underlying part of it. Yeah.
Okay.
So just my thought. Yeah.
So for the link count, what Sri just mentioned about was what we did was we had a mini net program, and I guess we know how many links it creates. So in the robot test, we're basically making sure that that many links are in the UI. And I think that may be like simple way of testing it. And so that way we're ensuring that those links are actually showing up in the UI.
Okay.
Yeah. I think, so for another way to do that, maybe I think if you can actually make a REST call and count the links and verify those what's in the UI, but we're not doing that. We're just hard coding the number of links and testing that.
You think that's enough, you said?
Yes, I mean, for a test, you can have, you can code already what is your configuration, and then has a test that counts for links and nodes. And the only question, but you're probably commenting that, the only question is whether you can see these nodes with IDs or something that you can match in the right?
We can see them. So.
And he already, yeah.
One really specific test case, and I don't know how easy it would be. Sorry. There's some browsers where the CPU spikes when we start Deluxe, right?
Right.
So how can we check against that and fail the test case when the browser's out of control?
I am not. Did you? I see your hand, Kate.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Right. So anyways, I mean, we run into these issues and we don't file bugs against them, so we should write a test.
Yeah.
Make it fail.
I agree. Yeah, performance testing.
Yes, just connected a little bit. I have a question for the developers of Deluxe. I was using Deluxe last release in Helium, and I found really that this release is, even with the topology only, not with the YangVisualizer as well, that will be put, is more heavy. Like you see the process exactly for the Chrome or the web, as well as for the X process and everything. It's much more than in Helium. So I don't know if there is an explanation, like something has been done this release in terms of development in the Deluxe itself, so it's more heavy now. Run it. And if there is something can be done.
Yeah, I am aware that I already saw that you're talking US. Yeah, Deluxe seems to really be heavier, but in this cycle, Deluxe is more trying to improve this modularity with Karaf, but I don't think it's that's the reason why it's more heavier. I just don't know why it's an issue that we know, and we're trying to resolve it for barium. So yeah, there's nothing else I can say for.
I mean, this is something that is known, and you're gonna, the last people, you're gonna present it for the edit release. But I was surprised because yeah, when I was testing, yeah, it's kind of, you know, maybe some other folks has realized that it's taking some of the memory. I don't remember, but CPU at least is kind of.
I think it's not to interrupt, worth asking the developers of Deluxe, what drives the features or improvements or changes? Does the community do that, or do you have use cases that you are programming against? How can the community influence Deluxe?
Great.
Oh no, we have use cases for YangUI, for YangVisualizers too, and we created a new application for GBP project. It's in alpha, but it came from the guys from the GBP project. So I don't know if is it community or use case. I don't know. The SFC UI drops on our team too, because guys in the SFC team who did it, or one guy in Slovakia, where am I, did it, and he just left the company. And I don't know if there are a lot of SFC UI developers, so they just gave it to us. So this is the applications we have, and we did application for. Oh, it's ODL, so
Yeah.
I'm done. Okay, so is it the community or use case?
Yeah. So how can we, as an integration team, be more intricately involved in Deluxe development and testing? Because that's, one of the things that integration and Luz tried to do is, with each project, you have a project with the code, you have some tests, some integration tests, and we don't have enough members in integration to have them attend each project meeting, and so that's kind of the way our strategy in trying to get more tests into integration. So how can we be more involved with you to develop more testing?
Yeah, I think it's something we need to work together. This is what happened. Normally, we said when we talk about integration, what we are doing and so on, that this release and releases going forward, we prefer projects to do their own system tests. But of course, we are not going to ask that to the project if they don't know how to do it. So we started doing all this scalability, performance testing templates a project can reuse to do that kind of testing. And I think for the last is the same. We try to build some framework, integration. We are interested to build a framework so that the people that are developers for UI, you can use that framework to easily write tests on that. And that is all about. I mean, and to get there, I think we need to gather all together. It's not that all integration that we gather, you and the intern or myself sometimes. We need to gather developers and people that are going to build this framework, and then, work together to get that done. And that's the thing that we need to get from this kind of meeting, right?
Yeah, exactly. So if you actually have regular meetings,
Yes.
we'd love to try to attend them.
So one of the things is this JUnit test cases. I think you should be probably implementing a lot of these JUnit while doing development, right?
The what?
JUnit.
Oh, JUnit.
Yeah. So basically, unit test cases in any language you write.
Yeah, actually, that's another question, no? I think maybe for developers. Is there any unit test that is done or can be done, or is only this Selenium that can be done too?
We did unit tests with the, what is the library, Maxina? Karma, and the plugin is Jasmine, or yeah, with Jasmine we did some unit tests for some applications, I think, and we have, for example, SFC UI is pretty good covered, but. Unit tests. We just wrote unit tests for the JavaScript code, for the functions and factories, but it doesn't test the forms or the HTML itself or that stuff. So you have tested all the functions there, but that's all, nothing else. Yeah, I think, yeah.
That's the thing. This is the first time we try to do some unit tests in the OpenDaylight, so I think it's the right time to get together, build this framework all together, and then after that we can probably hand over to initially Deluxe, but the way I understand Deluxe as well is that they're going to be projects. There's going to be projects developing in Deluxe as well. So if I'm sitting in SSC or GVP, or I'm running a project in OpenDaylight and I want to have my component in Deluxe, I'm going to be going to Deluxe and write that component, right? So that's the idea. So is that the idea or not?
So USC uses Deluxe modularity in Lithium. So we actually have UI-related code in our USC repository. And then when you install USC in the Carafe console, it uses Deluxe modularity to put that USC UI into Deluxe. And I think we're one of the first projects to do that. And out of this session, hopefully we want to be able to test that using Robot, right? Like, so if Deluxe comes in and changes modularity or changes something about their UI and impacts USC UI, then we want to know about it as a part of continuous integration.
So this is exactly the sample that is not only the last developer, but also projects that they want to have something there. They will be testing using this framework. So that's why it's so important to build this framework in a good way from the beginning.
Right. So it seems like that Deluxe is truly a web platform on which we're going to put the different applications that give us the functionality for, let's say, topology, like Topology Manager, Flow Manager, etc.
So one of the things I wanted to, like, since this is kind of strategy discussion, is whatever modules user interface has, like the user interacts with the controller, those things all of them needs to be tested in the community. That's what I feel, because all this jarring feeling that something doesn't work, something makes you frustrated, these things will be eliminated if we have test cases for them. That's what I feel like.
I truly believe that if we could probably better facilitate answering some of the deficits in tests if we had clear test plans publicly on the wiki. So anyone that's interested in participating could go and look, okay, so this is a test plan for this feature.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can write some test cases.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things like in the US that I was working is basically it's just not like popping up something, showing up something, but basically that thing should go all the way down. Let's say you are doing some flow programming or something. It's basically goes to the end, like make sure that flow goes fine.
Yeah.
So this is like, that is like much more effort than what actually looks like. But that should be addressed. I mean, in case you want to have a better user experience, that's definitely needs to be taken care of.
Yeah. So more end-to-end testing.
Yeah. I mean, at least if you can partner, then it is really good.
Anyone else?
One of the suggestion I have that if your VM you are running, let's say that you have installed it to the VM, please create a 2 ETH line, NIC line. Keep the one is the private line for the communication of your module and other things. And third line, which is will be used for the southbound communication. For example, that we wanted to see the behavior of the web browser alone. So you can launch the web browser anywhere other than where it is, right? For example, that I have a running Lithium. I don't want to touch that one because it will pick the CPU. So you put your web browser somewhere else, other machine, and do your work on that one. You can install your Selenium. You can do all those things, right? And you can see that how that one is behaved. So one of the way you can see the performance of the web browser, that how that one works. So this is one of the suggestion I have for all of you.
And Jamo says we're already doing that. Excellent. Thank you for your suggestion. So we have about 3.5 minutes left. Looks like we're pretty cooked.
No, I think it's,
Okay.
we just need, I don't know, if you, Carol, can get the names of the people and the mails, so to build this framework like developers, it's very important to gather together, so that would be awesome.
All right, I'm gonna lock the door. You can't leave unless you give me your email. But thank you very much for participating. Deluxe has always been that chasm of, feature or product that we haven't tested. There's been some trepidation around testing it, and now I think we've kind of opened that door and broken that wall down. So please give us more suggestions, email us, let us know what we can do and how we can help you. Thank you again.